What is going on, YouTube? Thank you for joining in again. Gonna bring you a couple stories tonight, chit chat about them. A lot of breaking news. Trump is giving us an absolute waterfall, drinking through a fire hose of his announcements, who he wants where, his appointments for secretary of this and that. We are going to go through them all. And The Hill is actually bringing us a very nice, well put together list with a little bit of commentary from them as well. All right, so we can start right from the top. Secretary of State Mark Rubio. Now, when we're going down this list, I think you'll notice something. There's a lot of people from Florida here. I'm not a big fan of that. Pretty much everyone is from Florida, except a few of these people. And we don't need everyone from Florida. I think you should spread it around a little bit, would be perfectly fine. But that is very much a Trump thing to do. He likes to pick people that maybe not be the most qualified or have the most accolades for a certain position, but people that he trusts or likes the most. So we'll see how that turns out. Also, one thing I'd like to say is these people that are being picked at the beginning, we'll see if they're still there at the end. So this could change very rapidly. Secretary of State Mark Rubio, the Republican Florida senator, is seen as a foreign policy hawk who is tough on China and Iran. His selection is to serve as Trump's top diplomat, was a drastic turnaround from 2016 when the two were fierce rivals. So if you do remember, they were not the best of friends. One thing that this does leave open is, let's say Mark Rubio accepts this, which he gets, and I don't even know if he needs to get confirmed, but let's say he goes and does this job. Now, Ron DeSantis needs to pick a senator from Florida, which is another interesting little thing. Very much like now J.D. Vance is going to need to be replaced. However, some people are saying that he can stay in the Senate. He can be a senator and head of the Senate there as the vice president is, and they go all the way back to, I think, Adams did the same thing. He was vice president and a senator. So we'll see if they let that fly. However, Vivek Ramaswamy is also from Ohio, and I believe very much would be like to be a senator as well. So we'll see what kind of actual workload that J.D. Vance is going to have. In the past, as we all know, vice presidents, generally speaking, don't have too much of a workload. We've seen with the last presidential cycle. In fact, it was kind of a joke about how much or how little Kamala Harris ended up achieving. Although in her particular situation, it was a split Congress, a split Senate, so she ended up being the tie-breaking vote on several bills that were fairly controversial, or I'll say not bipartisan. Environmental Protection Agency, we got Lee Zeldin, former Republican from New York. This is going to be a very tough spot to be for him. Luckily, he is an attorney. He's going to have to go into the EPA and figure out how to dismantle them or undo a lot of their regulations while also running the bureaucracy of the EPA. And that's going to be quite the legal challenge for him. UN ambassador, that's kind of a welcome pick. She's essentially going to be in a really nice penthouse in New York and going to the UN and making speeches and possibly getting, third world dictators to vote in their way in the U.S.'s favor on certain bills and whatnot. Okay, here's Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. I think that's a kind of pick for Homeland Security. That's a little harsh, and she did shoot her dog. So I think that is kind of pick this lady for Homeland Security Secretary, someone that's pretty cutthroat. Then actually it says here, early excerpts from her book reveals that she killed her hunting dog 20 years ago. Yikes. I don't know why you would go put that in a book, but she had a very short run for president when the Republican Party started seeing who was going to run for president. That came out, kind of killed off the bat, which was probably good for her in the long run because she didn't end up getting a long drawn out battle with Trump, which she was never going to win. So that primary, the fact that she got out of that was great. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee. I honestly do not care about this. I think Huckabee is going to love this. The evangelical right likes this move. Whatever. Okay, John Ratcliffe, CIA director. Local Texan here, part of the kind of Dallas and the surrounding counties is originally where he's from, which is kind of cool for us. He was definitely right there with Donald Trump as the former head of intelligence in the last Trump administration. He is going to have a very, very tough job. Well, taking over the CIA, running the CIA, trying to get the CIA back to what they used to be good at, which was human intelligence across the world. There's probably going to be a lot of restructuring. So that is also going to be very difficult for him. But it looks like in this situation, he does have the credentials to take that position, albeit he was not directly in the CIA. So it's not like he's one of these guys that was, an agent, head of a field office, and kind of worked his and then got into the head position. Defense Secretary, this was completely unexpected, I think, for everyone. Pete Hegseth and Friends. You might know him. He's a very fit guy. He's got some good-looking tattoos, earning 2 Bronze Stars. The former host of Fox and Friends, Trump has pledged to fire generals involved in the 2021 Afghanistan withdrawal and to eliminate woke initiatives that focus on diversity and equity in the military. Thank God, because I am so sick and tired of sitting through those trainings. Thank you. It came as a bit of a surprise to pretty much everyone. Now, again, I think that this is, I don't know if he's qualified to be Secretary of Defense, okay? I will say he definitely has street credit with people in the armed forces. That's great. Obviously, he is very gung-ho, an infantry captain in the Army National Guard, tours in Iraq, Afghanistan, kind of what a lot of people in the military have that kind of pull to him. They look at him and they would respect him as, oh, he's right. He's not a type of guy. He's very physically fit, as I said. He likes to do the workouts and the Murphys and all that. Running a giant bureaucracy as the Secretary of Defense would, I don't know how that's actually going to pan out with how he's going to communicate with the other GS-99s that he's going to have to deal with, and how they want to restructure the military, the bases around the world, what they're looking to do, continuing the pivot to the Pacific, all those different things. I would actually say that, well, one, obviously this pick was because they have a friendly relationship, okay? And again, he qualified to a certain degree based off of his military persona and his record and his street credibility. Actually running a massive organization to be determined. However, that can be augmented with some good staff around him. And I don't believe that they'll just kind of leave him to the wind. Much like the CIA director, I was hoping for Kash Patel. Everyone loves Kash Patel, but hopefully he finds a spot very close to or maybe a intelligence advisor inside the White House or something like that. This was one of the first announcements. Chief of Staff Susie Wells, I have read that she's not really MAGA, really. She's just kind of down the line, hey, run an office really effectively. She knows everybody, and she's just kind of the person, the household together. Of course, Stephen Miller, he's not going anywhere. Tom Holman, everyone has seen this guy. This guy is ruthless. He is the clips of him going with AOC. He is probably the best pick if you are looking to get this job done. I can't really think of anyone that really comes to mind that would be better. I've seen him, through 1819, and he was being brought up to Congress, and they were trying to make a scene about separating families, and he fought back very, very well, very analytical, the list kind of goes on, and this is going to keep growing and growing. And of course, we're going to touch on this here just in a minute. About the Department of Government Efficiency. And here it is from Zero Hedge, and we're going to jump over to XT, but from Zero Hedge, the Manhattan Project of our time. Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to head Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. That is awesome. On day one, instantly fire 50% of federal bureaucrats. Here's how. If your social security number ends in an odd number, you're fired. That downsizes government by half. Absolutely nothing will break as a result. It doesn't violate civil service rules because mass layoffs are exempt. Look at that. Dude, if you're, and I don't know if it's going to be odd or even, they'll probably flip a coin on camera. I do believe that's true, by the way. I believe if you fire 50% of any one of those departments, I don't believe anything breaks. In fact, some things might become a little bit better after 6 months. And Vivek has gone in depth about this on several podcasts, which is why, the podcast industry is so amazing, allowing the American people, the world really, to experience the long drawn out thoughts of these people, of our leadership, not having to get interrupted. So you got 5 people on a screen, they're all screaming, they're trying to get their soundbite, and then boom, cut to a commercial, and it's about some kind of antidepressant. You need the drugs to watch these shows on cable. Thank God I don't have cable and I only listen to podcasts. And there's all kinds of charts here, total government workers. You can see it kind of drop down here and starts rising back up. I think that we know what happened in 2020 and who ended up taking over around then. This kind of goes hand in hand with, and of course he's continuing to be on X, shut it down. This is a big thing. This is going to be, this is kind of maybe the emblem, but that would be very, very funny. I do agree. Of government efficiency, the merch will be fired. Elon Musk, I will be buying some of that. This is going to be great. Donald Trump, of course, put out one of his long statements. He truths one of his long statements, which immediately gets put on X, and that's where everyone's reading it. I want to read this real quick from the Dallas Morning News. Trump picks former Dallas area Congressman John Ratcliffe to be CIA director. President-elect Donald Trump on Tuesday had handpicked former Director of Intelligence and former Texas Congressman John Ratcliffe to serve as Director of the Central Intelligence Agency. The Texan in the latest has made for his leadership team, which will help him shape the policies and decisions that define his administration. Most will need to be confirmed by the Senate. But he's getting a workaround. He's getting to figure out the majority leader in the Senate. I look forward to John being the first person ever to serve in both the nation's highest intelligence positions. Trump said on the statement, calling him a fierce fighter for constitutional rights of all Americans who would ensure the highest level of national security and peace through strength. He's kind of giving that old Ronald Reagan vibe there. He's a close ally, served with him through Corona. He hopefully will become America's or the nation's top spy. Oh, he was confirmed the nation's in May 2020, 8 months before Trump left office. The former member of the House of Representatives and U.S. Attorney for Texas. He received no support from Senate Democrats during the confirmation. And that kind of goes to what is going on in the Senate right now. When a new administration comes in, you got about 5,000 positions that need to be filled. And a lot of them need to be or are supposed to be confirmed by the Senate. Now, in Trump's first term, he had hundreds of positions that were not confirmed by the Senate ever. And they never actually closed out the sessions fully. They used some kind of get around so that way Trump, when the session closes and they're not in session, meaning they can't appoint anybody, the president can then fill those empty spots. The Senate never closed to allow Trump in his first presidency to his spots. And so that greatly hampered his ability to get anything done or to get more done in his first presidency. And that's just sad. And that really is a injustice to people. Why you would do that. Obviously, it's for political reasons. You don't agree with the ideology of his picks. That would really be the biggest thing. And that's what he's looking to avoid, not having to go through tons of Senate hearings, even though we have 53 seats, just the fact that it takes so damn long. At this day and age, it just seems like all that is lost, and there's really no need to mess with any of it. Okay, so that's just for that. I can get that up or something. I don't know. Man. All right, let's a little bit more about Texas. The Dallas Express, the People's Paper. City council member speaks out against Dallas hero amendments. If you lived in the city of Dallas, you went to vote, you were not happily surprised when you you stuck your ballot in that machine, and all of a sudden on the screen, once you got through selecting your candidates, all of a sudden you got to the amendments. The amendments were wild this year. There was a bunch of amendments, and a lot of them were very long, or propositions, amendments to propositions. All of them were propositions this year. None of them were minutes. All right, let's talk a little bit about Dallas. From the Dallas Express, City Council member speaks out against Dallas hero amendments. Dallas voters supported more city accountability by voting to pass Proposition S and U on Election Day. But City Council member Paula Blackman says these amendments could have unintended consequences. If you are a Dallas voter and you went to the your ID, you got your ballot, you went and stuck it in that machine. Okay, you picked your candidates, great. You were pleasantly surprised when you got to the propositions because there were a lot this year. If you lived inside the city of Dallas, there were a lot, and some of them were extremely long. A few of those, two of them at least, Proposition S and U, actually happened to carry a win, and so that will be implemented now in the city of Dallas. That's what this article is about. Proposition S and U were two of the three amendments calling for more city accountability brought forth by Dallas Hero, a local nonprofit focused on improving public safety and measures to hold our city leaders and city government accountable. Proposition S will eliminate government immunity and allow residents to file lawsuits against the city. Proposition U will ensure that the Dallas Police Department will have at least 4,000 officers on staff, as previously reported by the Dallas Express. While many voiced their approval for these changes, Blackman claimed over the weekend that issues would arise as a result of these propositions. Blackman explained that the price of adding new officers would likely exceed $175 million before accounting for training, which would add even more expense to the already high price tag. But it means that you would have to get rid of your parks department, your libraries, and $10 million more, Blackman said, as reported by WFAA. So the libraries that I saved the past year, that's a frog in the pot. People are going to experience a real hit to those quality of life things that make a city vibrant and viable. While Blackman admits not all parks and libraries are likely to close, she says their combined cost is roughly equivalent to the money needed to support new propositions. I'm going to pause right there. How does a park close? The park is already there. You don't need someone to go open the park every day. It's just there. Yes, you need to mow the yard. Is this like a Barack Obama thing where we're going to have a shutdown? We're actually going to pay people more to go put cones out on open monuments that are open all the time. This is, again, whenever you start talking, we're going to see in a couple of years, we're going to see a lot of this when we start talking about trying to get some cuts done in the federal government. The sky will be falling, and the first thing they're going to say is like, oh, people are going to starve to death. You're not to be able to drink your coffee in the morning. Just the worst types of things that you could think of. This woman went right to parks. Your parks are going to close. Your libraries are going to close. I don't know. Actually, I mean, the city is going to have to prioritize. I think that is a good example of, okay, what is the priorities of a city to function within its revenue, within its means? It's very the question is ultimately the people have won at least 4,000 police officers on staff, okay, and that is a thing for police officers as well. Are there enough people to everyone to take reasonable vacations? Can we get enough shifts covered? We all been there. You want to go do something you want to take a vacation, you want to get your shift covered. That's a problem if you don't have enough staff or enough officers in the city to cover down on these patrols and on these watches. If the city is being ran so efficiently, just ask yourself, do you think Dallas is being ran so efficiently? If the city is being ran so efficiently that this cost is going to rise so much, they're going to say, oh my gosh, well, what are we going to cut? And literally after they go line item by line item, they say, well, we got to shut down the libraries. That's really the only thing left that we have to cut. We have nowhere else to cut. That's it. That's the end result. That would actually say something really good about Dallas, the city of Dallas, that is being ran so wildly well that the next best thing to cut is the libraries. Let's continue on. If you look at your own household income and you're making cuts, you go, okay, vacation off the table. You go, that car payment has to be made. But you know what? I may not be driving as much. So you start looking at your budget and what are those big pots? Dallas Hero, for its part, says the shortfall can be covered by year over year revenue increases and prioritizing police funding until targets are met. Blackman says the city is investigating whether it has any legal recourse for opposing the green light proposition. Anything can happen when you go to the courts, but I think the voters have made it clear what they want from their city government, Blackman said. Dallas Hero gathered almost 169,000 signatures to get the amendments on the ballots. Although Blackman pointed to some of the negative consequences of the amendments, many have taken a different approach and see these changes as necessary for the city. Dallas Express publisher very pleased with the election results because it will bring a meaningful change. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for seeing the wisdom in these charter amendments. If I can make it so, Dallas Hero will not stop fighting for your priorities because no one else will, Bennett said. Monty Bennett was the publisher, recently discussed these propositions with Dallas Express. So here we go. So let's go back. Monty says the city is investigating whether it has any legal recourse for opposing the green light proposition. So the people have voted. We are a representative republic. We start putting for direct vote inside the cities and some state constitutional amendments and things of this nature. Well, the people have spoken on this one, and they said, hey, we want 4,000 police officers. We want to feel safer going downtown. We want better traffic control. We want that. We want our courts to be secure. We want our parks to be more secure. We want more accountability on the streets. The city of Dallas is already trying to find legal recourse here on how to get rid of this thing. How can we oppose it? How can we meet them halfway on it? Now, it doesn't clearly say if Blackman is also trying to find legal recourse for this, so I don't want that to be misconstrued, but it definitely sounds like she's not incredibly happy. But if she's pointing out some serious issues, like I said, if Dallas is being ran so well that the next best thing we need to cut is libraries, I think actually Dallas is doing a pretty good job, but we all know that's not the case. We all know that there's going to be other things to cut and to get rid of, and all the BS that goes into a government spending program, even in the city of Dallas, that is going to be cut when you actually put real priorities on the ticket. Moving on from the Texas scorecard, Texas lawmakers filed a bill to eliminate in-state tuition for illegal aliens. In 2001, Texas became the first state to pass legislation that allowed illegal aliens to live in Texas to receive in-state tuition. Now, this is a very interesting bill. Today was one of the first days today was the first day in the Texas where you could file your bills, and so you got a bill number. State Representative Terry Lee Wilson has filed House Bill 160, which would disqualify illegal aliens from receiving discounted in-state tuition when attending public colleges and universities in Texas. This subject has been reoccurring in the legislature for the past several years without progress. Today, I am proud to announce I'm filing HB 160, the first bill filed for this upcoming legislative session to end the in-state tuition for illegal immigrants. This legislation is a top priority for Texas GOP, and it honors the message of Texas voters delivered when they elected me and others like-minded conservatives for the Texas House. Wilson authored similar legislations in 2003. The bill never made it beyond committee. Doubt this one will either. In Texas, public colleges and universities are able to offer a reduced tuition to students who reside in the state of Texas, and the state subsidizes the difference with taxpayer funds. This is done to encourage students to receive their secondary education within the state. According to the research conducted by Huffines Institute 2001, Texas became the first state to pass legislation that allowed illegal aliens that live in Texas to receive in-state tuition. At least 24 other states have followed the example by passing similar legislations. There are currently over 59,000 illegal aliens enrolled in colleges and universities across Texas. Texans have spoken clearly. They want their taxpayer dollars safeguarded from lawful citizens. I am committed to carrying out this much needed reform while working alongside my colleagues to uphold the values of Texas. Expect. According to the platform, the Texas Republican Party opposes illegal aliens receiving in-state tuition and ending the magnet is a legislative priority for the party. Okay, so there you got it. They want to get rid of in-state tuitions for illegal aliens. Now, this is, this goes hard to the immigration story. It goes to the softer side. Of course, we always hear about the rapes and the murders on the news. Illegal aliens attending college, right? Now, do you want them attending college? Well, if they're attending college, they're more than likely, other than the felony of crossing the border illegally, which is a felony. Other than that, they're probably pretty good people, just learning, just trying to better their education. Should Texas paying the difference between in-state tuition and out-of-state tuition or regular tuition? I would say no, they should not, because we'll have people from Oklahoma that come here or Arizona or wherever, but they're not in state for, I believe it's the first year. Then they can get in state if they live here long enough. I could be off on that slightly, but for a certain period of time. I don't think that I don't think that another American should have to pay a higher rate and then the taxpayers of Texas subsidize them. So that is the legislative priority. We will see if that makes out a committee. That one's a tough one. I will say that one's going to be a very, very much a tough one to overcome. Speaking of how voted, no blue wave broke in Texas again. From Real Clear Politics. This is our boy old Ted. Since I was studying politics, I'm not going to read all of this, but long story short, Ted Cruz was in a race with Colin Allred, as you might have known, and all the polls, you kept seeing the polls, lies that he was within point. This is the closest race ever. And actually, Mr. O'Rourke was way closer than this guy was. And really what had happened is, at least in Dallas, I can speak to the Dallas numbers, Democrats just didn't turn out. That's just what it is. Yes, Republicans got more votes in Dallas overall. Percentages of registered voters, no, the actual percentage was actually about the same, even with the purge voter rolls, which means registration was up. But overall, the raw numbers of votes from Democrats were down. He held on to his seat. I think he ended up winning by 9 points. Democrats absolutely lit millions of dollars on fire trying to get Colin Allred to flip that seat. They also were believing the polling. And to be fair, Ted Cruz did spend a fair amount of money, as well as the Senate PAC as well in Texas, to hold on to this seat. So there was obviously a huge shift in with Latinos, especially in the Rio Grande Valley area, that went red, that went for Cruz and Trump. So that was a great momentum shift for the Republican Party as well. So a lot of good things going on. We do have a couple more episodes coming out. This was just a quick Tuesday night. Let me throw something together for you. We're going to have a couple other good episodes later this week, and I am going to travel down to Austin to a little leadership summit that will definitely keep you guys in the loop. Please like and subscribe if you are interested, and follow me on X. The link is below. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.